Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest. Today, we're going to be talking about my clear compositions for the Glacial raid. I do not have King Mont, so this is going to be featuring clear compositions not utilizing the solo King Mont strategy. Let's dig in. So we're going to start off by showing you my primary rainbow composition clear group. It does utilize Gilgamesh 9S as my large bonus unit, Delita and Rain. We are going to go ahead and show the specific setups here. Gilgamesh is sub-soldier. Gilgamesh does have access to paralyzing edge because if he's out of position, I want him to be able to use that paralyzing edge. A lot of people might point out looking at my VCs and Espers that they are not optimal, and you're absolutely correct. I did not farm resonance on Gilgamesh and Rain. Otherwise, I would have better Espers on them right now. That would make more sense for this, right? That might have Bird Killer or might have more slash attack up, what have you. Now, you'll also notice that Ifrit is on 9S here and Chivalrous Outlaws is on Delita. The reason for that is Chivalrous Outlaws gives agility up 8%. It was really important that my Delita moved before my 9S and my Rain. And same with my Gilgamesh. My Gilgamesh had to go before them as well. And the reason it was important is because when my units move forward, you're going to notice that if Gilgamesh and Delita don't take out the adds first, what'll happen is 9S and Rain will move in and then Kotetsu won't go off from Gilgamesh. So for those of you who have been struggling on how to utilize Gilgamesh, definitely some good information there. Rain has everything turned off except for Soul Prominence and his Limit Break. Soul Prominence is his 3-hit chaining ability. 9S has everything turned off except for Drain Rush and his Limit Break. 9S's position could probably be better in this fight, but it was really important that Delita and Gilgamesh are on the edges so that they can take out the adds. So you're gonna see 9S do some weird things in this, but it works. And I mean, that's the glory, right? In terms of Delita, self-sacrifice, move +1. He does have a lot of his stuff on, like Crush Accessory, Karma Blade, Cleanse Strike, and this is just so that he has range to attack the opponent. He also has Fyraga Blade on, which he will not use. Judgment Blade is important because this is what he uses to kill the adds. And I do have Meditate on, but he does not use that. So let's go ahead and open up before we talk about some of the other compositions I have, just because this is my main composition that I've been using to clear. Now, you can utilize a lot of substitutes, like Delita could probably be substituted in this setup. I did consider and try doing a Thunder setup because I was thinking, you know, if I'm running 9S, Thunder would probably be a good idea, and I could just not make a mono Thunder team work. It just was not happening. And now what you're going to notice here next is they're going to take their turns, and you'll see how Gilgamesh and Delita are strategically moving before 9S here. So you're going to see a Kotetsu, and you're going to see an AoE taking out these two wolves. And that's important because the wolves can take multiple turns from you. So you want to make sure to kill the wolves with AoEs to get them done. This is 9S doing some weird stuff with his Limit Break. Rain's going to come in with his LB, and then this is going to be kind of like the primary damage window here, right? You'll see Gilgamesh using Hard Slash, which is a great way to cap damage. Delita is just going to start popping Cleansing Strike. 9S is going to use his Drain Rush. And the fight kind of goes from here, right? Followed up by Rain's Prominence, Soul Prominence. And this is just, you know, this is the way it goes for the rest of the fight. Now, this might not be a solo composition King Mont build, right? And I know all of you out there that have King Mont, you're like, well, I can solo it with King Mont. And that was, of course, an Esper finish for those that didn't see that. But, you know, there's a lot of people who don't have King Mont or don't even have King Mont 120 with the capability to solo this. So I think it is important to highlight kind of what a standard build would be like. Taking a look at some of the other builds that I do have going, we'll talk quickly just about my bonus unit clear composition, and then we'll talk about some of the other compositions I've been testing and utilizing, what has worked, what hasn't worked. My bonus unit composition does utilize 9S, Alim, Glaciella, and Kane. I do know that a 129S can solo the bonus, like if you plan to do it that way. The problem for me with this is that that would mean for every bonus, I would have to reset my 9S, and I don't want to reset my 9S because he is in my primary team. So I just kind of put together a piercing team, and I was just like, okay, have fun. That way I don't have to reset my composition every time I do have the bonus dragon show up. So I do run Kane. That's because Kane's limit break does actually work on this boss. So landing slow does happen to be a good strategy. Glacial, of course, for triple pierce and for her limit break. Limb does do jumps. And yeah, other than that, pretty standard. I do put the Clairvoyant Astrologer on 9S because I have his pierce abilities turned off, right? Because I'm using him for triple drain rush on the standard boss. So this is kind of like he'll use this pierce ability to deal damage, and it lets him chain. So that way I don't have to adjust the AI every time a bonus raid comes up. Now, let's say you don't have limited time units. Not a problem. I actually have a composition here that does clear with non-limited units. It does feature Rain, Elda, Seymour, and Raldor, and Elda's not even 120, and Seymour is only 99. So you absolutely can clear in this composition. It's not the cleanest clear. I could probably tidy it up a bit. It's one of those situations where it was like, can I do this? Can I make this work? And I absolutely could make it work. It just needs a little bit of work. In the long run, I would probably swap Bells onto Raldor and have him use Taunting Blade more to take out the ads. You do get King Elda taking out 2 ads with the ability from the Ramada VC Armor Piercer. So between the two of them, they do kind of work really well. Seymour gets out of position sometimes. It's just a little messy, right? So if you have non-limited units and this is the composition you want to go, this is how I have my Elda built. What's important for Elda is that you do have Hien turned on because Hien is the ranged attack that he will be chaining with. It's also important that you have Armor Piercer on him. Seymour is pretty much the same. The one thing with Seymour that can get really annoying is you have to turn Illusion off. Very similar with Sid if you're running Sid Sub Samurai in my experiments with them. Because if you leave Illusion on, they will run to the side instead of popping whatever buff they have. Congo was also really important for me to have on Seymour because it does let him hit the damage cap a little bit easier. And then, of course, Raldor is just going to be sub-paladin. He'll have Taunting Blade and Blade Bash, and that will be how he does the majority of his damage. The reason I would put Bells on him is Raldor will melee hit sometimes, and so you could probably optimize him with Bells. Rain, his melee hit is not going to mess things up as much, so you could probably get away from that. Dark composition. Is anyone surprised about this? Dark Slash, very powerful, very effective, works great. It was probably the easiest composition for me just to smack together. Interesting thing here is that there is no bonus unit, which is problematic. I do think you could probably fit in 9S for Stern. Stern, interestingly, I didn't kind of optimize just because I put this together and it just worked. But he was not using Calamity Hazard, which I found really interesting. I wanted him to use Calamity Hazard to lower the slash resistance of the target, and I just could not reliably get him to do it. And I don't know why. I haven't figured that out yet. I did consider also putting Exorcist VC on, but it was really not needed. And I really found that survivability was the biggest problem in this composition. Venera specifically would take a couple hits. It's also probably a small little detail, but you could swap Ruinstern and Venera. Ruinstern can get out of position where his double attack, right, because he has to be right next to the opponent's double attack. So there were a couple times where my Ruinstern popped like Calamity Hazard instead of using double attack, which would have been much better. Dwayne is just Dwayne, right? If you take a look at his comp here, I even just left his golden armor on. He basically just uses Rising Twilight most of the time. I did leave Darkness on. He actually does not use 9S's TMR, so in this composition, he actually buffs the slash attack of his allies to clear pretty easily. So let's go ahead and show you the dark composition here and just how it works, because it's a little bit weird, a little bit off compared to what you might think it is. And you'll kind of see that Stern is absolutely replaceable in this setup. And I think 9S, if you're going for that bonus unit, would be a good sub-in for Stern. I think Venera is important, so is Ruin Stern, and so is Dwayne, right? Dwayne in particular for that dark resistance down. It might be worth taking potentially Venera out and putting 9S in. It's really a tough call, but you see there that slash up and defense piercing rate. Defense piercing rate, of course, not important since this boss has 0 defense. There was a couple people in my comment section who got a little bit confused on my last Glacial video, and they didn't understand why I was using defense down. Oh, he actually used slash resistance down. Good job, Stern. But people were asking me why I was using defense down on a unit with 0 defense, and that's because you can lower a monster's defense below 0. There was definitely some confusion on the difference between like defense penetration and defense down. So defense penetration is useless if a monster has 0 defense or if a monster has defense below 0, right? But abilities like Crush Armor will lower the opponent's defense below 0. So in that regard, it is not useless. So important distinction there. I think a lot of people are thinking that defense penetration is the same as defense down, and that is not the case. So it is always useful to be using defense down in your different raid situations that you might be running, particularly if you're doing physical attacks. It can get a little technical if the monster has defense and you do defense down, which lowers the monster's defense to 0, because then you're like, oh, now my defense penetration is useless, which is why I think defense down is always better than defense penetration. Also important to note, defense penetration is a percentage. It is not a round number, right? So if you have 10 defense penetration, that's you piercing 10% of the opponent's defense, not your attacks giving the opponent minus 10 defense. Very important distinction. In terms of what else worked, I did get my ice composition to work. Pretty important here was Victoria having access to Sub Soldier for hard slash and paralyzing slash. Victoria also did Armor Pierce to lower the opponent's defense. Oron, of course, did his thing, and Laswell, of course, did his thing. Oron, I don't think I adjusted at all. I even turned some of his stuff off, so you can see we have Banishing Blade is what you want him to do. He used his Limit Break to clear out the ads. Laswell also used his ability here. I did have to turn Mirage off on Laswell because he will pop Mirage instead of using one of his other buffs. Other than that, I left pretty much everything on here. It was important to sub Knight of Grandshelt for Exercising Storm, just because this is his 2-hit ability. It is also what kills the ads in this situation. I did turn off Finger Snap though for him. And of course, you'll notice again here, my Espers are not optimal. I could have farmed better Esper resonance for this situation. I just didn't get around to it. Now, the 2 compositions that I thought would work really well that didn't work really well were definitely Water and Lightning. I actually thought I could pull off a Water comp and a Lightning comp, and I just found that the Water comp was not there. And I think it's because I wasn't lowering, like, I think you would actually need to do a combination of like a Water comp with Gilgamesh or some type of Water comp that does more than just lowers defense from Tidus's Ject Shot. So I think what really kind of shined with the Water and the Lightning compositions is that they don't have really reliable ways yet to debuff the opponent to deal more damage. Another problem that I ran into with Lightning, while in the Lightning kit you do have lower slash resistance and lowers lightning resistance with Sid, they're both on the same character, and you could turn Crush Armor off on Sid, but that is a problem, right? Because then you're having 9S do the defense down, but then if 9S does his defense down, it's not a slash attack doing the defense down. So you run into this situation where with lightning compositions, you're having more trouble maintaining your chain while also getting the damage down onto the opponents. it's just a little bit messy. Not to mention lightning compositions don't have coral yet, which is the VC, which is gonna boost lightning attack on your allies. So it also makes it a little messy that way as well. I almost feel like lightning needs like cloud just to finish off that sort of lightning formation to make it kind of perfectly accessible for most mono lightning comps. Do I think it could be successful Gilgamesh? Probably. But I just didn't want to spend the time working on it, messing with it, because it was messy, right? And you have a limb who's naturally weak to stop. It was just causing a bunch of problems. And yeah, that's kind of where I left it at. I've been farming this raid mostly with my dark comp and my rainbow comp, because my rainbow comp has the bonus unit. If I could get my normal composition to have, or if my dark composition to have a bonus unit, I'll definitely try and pull that off. I could definitely put like Gilgamesh in there, who's a medium bonus, right? He's not a huge bonus, but still could be potentially really good. Anyway, everybody, thanks for watching. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your week. And as always, if you do want to support me, make sure you go to dig.gs/coins whenever you purchase Amazon coins. You can hit that subscribe button. We're really close to 10K subscribers, so it would really help me out if you could hit that subscribe button. And have a great rest of your day, everybody.